I was muted. That's terrific. Hi there. I decided to stream a bit of Animal Crossing tonight because it's been a long day. I'm really tired, and for whatever unbeknownst to ungodly reason, my frames are complete trash. So, if my frames are dropping like crazy, it's Australia. Like, I don't know what to say. It's some kind of, like, mass dropped frames thing happening. Maybe it's because everyone's on at the moment, or maybe my computer just, I should have restarted it before I started playing. I'm gonna see if quitting that program does anything whatsoever. Apparently not. Still climbing. I'm gonna watch this back later and get really sad about all the dropped frames. Hey, just your average person. How you doing? Yes, socks. What's your favorite pair of socks? Do you got one? So I decided to do some dailies today because I hadn't played Animal Crossing a little bit and I had all these like things that I had left to do. This tiny bit of decorating that's left on my island in this one area. It's basically like one of the last places I have to decorate. That's good. I'm alright, you know. Just tired from like work, and I'm testing out different streaming days at the moment, so a couple of the days I'm gonna be pretty exhausted for, or at least tired, not exhausted. Exhausted is a bit of a overstatement. It's gonna be more like tired. But it's like 9 p.m. now. Stream Elements is finally talking about how I'm live. Essentially, today was the kind of day where, like, you wake up and you just know that everything's going to, like, be delayed in some way or some kind of late, that there's going to be, like, problems as you go. Bright side, I had good socks that I found. I got, like, a nice pair of, like, 2 for $10. So, my latest new socks are, like, tacos with sombreros and cactuses, and then, like, rice bowls. So I'm pretty excited about, like, my new socks. I kind of want to make sure to try and, like, match them with my outfit. But I haven't yet decided which outfit that's going to be. So it might be a while until I, like, wear these socks specifically. I was going to play some Dragon Quest Builders, but that's the kind of game where I kind of want to, like, devote a full day to it. And, like, get really far in the story, because it's a fascinating game, and I like building. It's a lot like Minecraft, honestly. From, like, what I've seen of Minecraft, the, like, comparisons. But the other day when I was, like, looking for DIY codes, I found these, like, cute umbrella DIYs. Honestly, it was thanks to, like, a YouTube video. Like, if I, like, searched in, like, umbrella code DIYs, like, DIY codes, and it came up with this one YouTube video. And that's where I found a ton of these umbrella codes. Not just because, like, not just from, like, the thing, but some of the people who made these different umbrellas made, like, a series of umbrellas, and so I just, like, added a bunch of them. For instance, like, one of them was, like, a cow, and I, like, ended up downloading, like, all their cows. They had 2 cows, and then they had, like, 2 chickens, so now I can have, like, little farm area. I know I could probably have just gotten Tipper and then, like, dumped her in this farm area and been like, hey, this is Tipper's farm. But I didn't really want Tipper yet. I kind of want her in the future. I think Tipper's a her. I wanted her in the future when I've, like, solidified going towards a farm. So I did, however, get these like creepy ghosts that have been hiding behind trees, because I'm trying to update like my dream address. Because I did a bunch of decorating, and then I like updated my DA, and I've since then put in a bunch of these like new DIYs, including the umbrellas with like the goose and the Pikachu. I've put in these like ghost dresses behind trees, and so I kind of want to like update it with all of them added in. So this is where I'm currently at, is like this is probably one of my like last areas left I have to decorate. The only other area besides this one that I have to decorate is on the beach, like far down on like the island. And I've already decided I think that I'm gonna make it into like a mine, because Sheldon's house is out there and his is very forested, so I can get away with putting like a ton of mushrooms down through here and like flowers and these cool umbrellas that I came across. So these are like gemstone umbrellas. So I'm gonna make this whole area into like this mine, which is pretty exciting, because as of yet my beach decorating skills have been pretty trash. I mean, a lot of people don't seem to care too much about their beaches, which is fair enough. The beaches, you pay more attention to like the main areas of the island, and then you end up with like these undecorated beaches, which, you know, on some greater level can drive just about anyone insane. But you'll find like occasional dream addresses, and you'll go into them and there'll be all these people and they just have like super well done dream addresses. Anywho, my favorite one of all of them is definitely the soot sprites, though, because I've got soot sprites around my island. Like, I've got some soot sprites around the place, but then like I needed something to kind of like incorporate them a bit more in, so they weren't just like plastered on the ground, like they were just dumped there and squished. You know, kind of like those like fairy books that used to be around there. It was like these fairy books, and essentially it was like you squish the fairies in them, and so like when you read them, there'd be all these like squished fairies inside them. Pretty cool books, but like they kind of reminded me of that I just like had these essentially like squished sprites all over the ground, kind of like these guys. Like, these guys can kind of give the illusion that they're like not stapled to the ground, but the sprites weren't really fooling anyone. Oh my god. And then I found like the little Totoro bushes. Like, I know this one isn't Totoro, it's just one of his like fellow sprites, but you know, could be worse. I'm gonna look it up, seeing as it's yeah, I'm just gonna have to look that up later, because dear God, those are some concerning numbers. So hopefully the stream isn't completely unwatchable for anyone who's here, who's willing to stick around and hear me talk on about Animal Crossing and decorating. I've recently been like getting some new games lately, because E3 has come around, and so there's of course the sales, and so I've already gotten most of like the games that I want from previous years with like the mid-year sale. That's usually when I buy most of my games, incidentally enough, because it's just such a good deal for a lot of these games that have been out for a number of years, and they just never seem to go down in price, or companies never feel this like greater need to put them on sale, which, you know, fair enough. If the game's selling well, even years later, just like, why would you put it on sale then? You're just losing on profit. But the mid-tier sale is kind of like the exception to that, and that they kind of like do the sale anyways. So, you know, I like that part about the mid-year sale, and that's why I always end up like picking up a ton of games. Especially games that like I'd been thinking about getting, but their price tag and the fact that I wasn't like dying to play them kind of like put me off a little bit. Right here I'm gonna be putting some like bamboos, and I'm trying to like make the like baby bamboos, because it didn't register to me up until recently that you could make baby bamboos. I thought that it only extended to like the trees, and that you couldn't do the smaller versions. Duckies. Honestly, I've got to say, one of the DIYs that brings me the most happiness is these like ducky hats. They're like inside little ducky ponds. Muted bop. I wonder why that didn't work. Oh yeah, I forgot to put the one. I gotta edit that later then. Do. That's right. I was recently watching someone like do a tour of my of this house, and I came to realize that ages ago I said I was gonna edit this bed back here and change it into one of the big 4-poster beds, and I haven't. Like, I don't have it in my storage, so I've got to buy it and then put it in here. But I've got this like sad little bed here, because it's the bed that I used to have back here with these bookshelves in like the corner here. This room is still kind of like in an adjustment period. Like, I don't know if I like it, but I don't hate it either. It's kind of that like interim place of like, it doesn't suck, but you also don't want to like brag about it to your friends. Maybe that rug might be better. They don't seem to have a green one of these, or if they do, I just don't have it in his storage. It's the most recent game that I actually got was like one of the Lego games, Lego City Undercover. Like, I've heard the title before, and I know that the Lego franchise has a ton of games that some of them I didn't even know about until I was in someone's chat and they were talking about like all the different Lego games that there are out there. And there's like there's some pirate one that centers around like the Black Pearl and Johnny Depp and all of that. And then you've got like ones that center around Harry Potter. There's the Star Wars ones, of course. There's all the Marvel ones. Now, I knew about the Marvel ones, kinda. Not all of them, but like most of the Marvel ones I knew about. But I had no idea that there was like a Pirates of the Caribbean one that just like existed out there. I've tried finding it, but I didn't have a lot of luck, so I just kind of had to like give up and accept the fact that I'm probably never going to play it. Now, I knew about the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit ones. My opinions of the Hobbit aside, I can appreciate the fact that they decided to make them into Lego games. The Hobbit one and the Lego ones I only knew about because I bought them for someone else who's like my boyfriend, who's a huge Lord of the Rings nerd. And I was buying him like a Christmas present or a birthday present at the time, and I wanted to get him like a DS game because he didn't really buy many like DS games for himself. He bought more like Xbox stuff. And so I was like, okay, well this looks interesting, even if it sucks. Like, it's a cool collection item to have. Did I do everything for them today? I think I did. No, I haven't done all that I was supposed to for them today. I still have to deal with the mailbox. So I'm kind of like, I've got like a plan that I do every single day for all these villagers. And it's kind of just my way of like tracking to make sure that I've done everything that I'm supposed to be doing for them. Because you don't want to miss out on getting reactions, if you can. You don't want to miss out on like making sure that you send the 5 items to get the Nook point, the Nook Mile relative points. You want to make sure that you've done all your Nook, like your big ticket Nook tasks. So like when you get the ones that are worth like 5 times, you always got to make sure you at least try and do them. Now, the only ones that I have trouble with when they're at the 5 times are ones that are like crafting items, because those are the days that I always end up having the most trouble finding, so I always end up crafting like useless nonsense. Just so that way, like, it covers that. Didn't realize that. Still had noise. Okay, so those aren't like on silent for whatever unbeknownst reason. I must not have turned this. I really should make like a list of things I should do before stream, just as like a general rule of thumb. So that way I know exactly what's like happening. What was I mailing? Bed, that's it. Antique. Do I have the color bed I want? Yes. I knew there was a reason for me getting them to catalog them all. And then we're just gonna do a couple of random things back. How much should the caro be? Okay, I need some more money so I can finish doing those. It's a real trick, like, making sure to stare at the right screen, because you don't want to, like, have, like, a weird, like, direction that you're looking. Plus, you need the right lighting, so my TV basically, like, is my, like, lighting setup, and it lights up my face pretty well. But, because the other light's, like, all the way over there, but I've seen some truly horrific lighting sometimes, and I'm like, did you just do that in the dark? Like, did you turn the lights on? Another thing I like found today, I actually forgot I had this, but I rediscovered it now. I'm like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do with you. It's like a Star Wars like bubble wand. Me and my friends a couple years ago, we bought these. Now the like bubbles inside are super sticky, so when you open them up, it goes everywhere. You know, I know the the bubble blowing stuff is always sticky, but this one just seemed like insanely sticky for whatever reason. So that was kind of like a reality. So I was like, cool, won't be doing that inside. Don't want that all through my house. At the same time, I found the instructions for a Pokemon nano blocks I'd been planning on making. So I was planning on making this one. It's like Sylveon. Not Sylveon, Sylveon. So I've made other ones. I made Leafeon, I made the water, Vaporeon, Glaceon I think I've made. So I've made most of them as nano blocks. Sylveon I think is one of the only ones left for me to do. I've got the other ones that are left over there in like little bags. So I haven't done those ones yet, but I'm getting there. The problem is I have to like find a place to display them all, which is why I just haven't like done it yet, I guess. Resetting that because that hurts to look at it. Now to get the I meant to do the snack. Oh well. Now I have a headpiece. I spend all day looking at screens at work. And I didn't get enough sleep. So I'm more tired today than I expected to be, considering I've done this kind of thing before, like staying up all night. When I was younger, I used to be really bad about it. Like I'd stay up for like 36 hours or like 28 hours and then just like crash after uni because I'd be up all through the night and then day would roll around. I'd be like, I knew that if I went to sleep, I would sleep through my class because it was early enough in the day that I knew I wouldn't wake up in time to go to it. And this was during a period of time where my parents were doing full-time newspaper delivery. So if I slept in, like, I was on my own. Like, I was screwed. There was no helping me. There was no one who could drive me there. I didn't have a driver's license. I couldn't drive there. I didn't have a car. So, essentially what I had to do was just stay awake so I could get to my classes. And as a result, I fell asleep in a couple of them. So I have a couple of lecturers who I'm sure thought I was the laziest person on the planet. Who were like, why is this person, this human in my class, just like sleeping and snoring? And yeah, I am live. Hey. I mean, the frames are trash on this thing, and I don't know if they're really trash or if they're just did on the system. Because it's like a network thing. Regardless, hello. I gave it a couple of tries because the frames was like terrible on the thing, and I was like, maybe if I restart it might be my computer. But it says it's the network, not my computer, so I'm just gonna have to have faith in the fact that it's not me. We'll find out later when I watch this back and I see whether or not it's truly terrible or not. Anyways, today's Monday, except it's only just Monday in the Northern Hemisphere. I know a couple people I was like watching earlier who are Northern Hemisphere, like they were going to sleep, so their side of the country is like going to sleep, and I think the other side in a couple hours will be getting up, because I know a streamer who starts at like 10 p.m. 10 a.m. like EST, and that's like 4 a.m. here, so it'd be late night, early morning for some of them, so they'd be like starting to awaken, I guess. I'm really bad with time zones. Time zones aren't what you would call my like strong suit. But it's okay, because I'm not like, that's what clocks are for, and like digital, your phone. One of the main reasons so many people know what time it is around the world is because their phones like can add multiple clocks, so they don't have to worry about it. Yeah, none of those are. And now we're going to go over to Sherlock. See, my dailies seem to take a while because I've got so many playable characters and I don't want to miss out on doing certain things with some of them because I'm trying to get like their reputations up, and so they have to speak to certain villagers every day, and it's like a whole thing. So I make sure that I do every single day, all the dailies. Even if I don't like maintain them. Even if it takes me several days to get through one day. Like this day that I'm on, the 4th of August, I've been on this day for like 3 days. And it's not even this year's August. It's like last year's August. I'm a full year behind in daytime because I'm just busy with like uni and life, and so what ends up falling behind is usually the Animal Crossing, because I'm a casual-ish player when it comes to it, which is why I'm always like, why are people so intense about this thing? I understand the stigma around like Animal Crossers being casual gamers, because even though there's a lot of knowledge that you learn through it and lore and background stuff that you end up getting used to, like, it's easy to see why there's like a bad rap around it. I don't personally feel that way, that like just because you play Animal Crossing makes you a casual gamer, because there's plenty of Animal Crossing players who play the hell out of the franchise and are like almost always doing something or planning something. There's some really active channels out there that make builds, like new builds, like every couple of weeks, and they have to find the materials and build them. I'm convinced that apart from the areas where they do the builds, the rest of their island must be trash, some of these channels, or they just have like a secondary island that they're reserved just for doing these kinds of things on it. That's like my personal theory. Whether or not that is true is a whole different story. Now, once I've done these dailies, I'm not really sure, apart from the decorating, like what I do. The decorating in part is going to take both this day and the next day, but I might do some of it today. At least, like, moving around some of the items that I've stored in this area, because they're just kind of cluttering up this whole space at the moment. Because I was like, a lot of the time in the earlier days of this island, like, Jesus, how many hours ago that was? Thousands of hours ago. I used to just kind of have areas on my island that were just essentially like dumping grounds for the never-ending madness that I like placed out. So I'd make something, it'd fill up like 3/4 of an area. I'd be like, cool, well I still need to do this in this kind of a space. So I'd just have to like move around and delete stuff, or just like have. There's definitely photos of it on my Switch of like when I had Town Hall just surrounded by hundreds of stacks of wood, like hundreds of them. Like it wasn't just like one or two or like half a dozen. It was hundreds of these, like stacks. Which is absolutely madness. Like how you can have so many like stacks of the same thing just floating around. Now I'm just gonna pick up all these because I placed them down here being like, oh yeah, I'll decorate this area with these things, and I will. But I just kind of need them out of the space because I keep going to place stuff down here or do stuff, and the whole area is just filled with these things that I have yet to decide where I'm putting them. Like fully in this space. I don't know if anyone else like ever has those kind of days where they're just like, it hurts to look at like screens and sunlight, and looking at things just makes you more tired, not less. It's been that kind of a day where, you know, where I'm like, I kind of like doing these things and I want to work on them, but at the same exact time, is it possible to do them with my eyes shut and while going to sleep? So that's kind of like a thought. Now, normally I wouldn't be streaming on a Monday, and I probably won't until like won't stream again on a Monday until late September, like mid to late September, because I play field hockey. Hey, Alpamiwa? Do you go by Alpa? Well, hi Alpa. Do you play Animal Crossing, or you just like watching Animal Crossing? I'm just here ranting about random things while I play Animal Crossing, because honestly, Animal Crossing is the kind of game like where it's like a just chatting kind of environment, but it's also a video game. So you can decorate, you can chat, you can like engage with the community, you can go on pretty fun hunts and activities. Honestly, I've seen some amazing like mazes made in this game. Some scarily good ones where I'm like, are we playing the same game? Because I'm not convinced that we are playing the same game. Fair enough. Yeah, not everyone can afford a Switch, and they've released that new like OLED one, which is, I appreciate the fact that it's got a bigger screen and everything, but I'm not sure if like a couple of inches of a bigger screen is worth like an extra like $200. It just seems a little insane to me that that's $200 more for like a couple extra inches of screen. Because I think the Switch in like most countries is, I think in the US it's like 300 or something, and here in Australia it's like 500-ish, depending on if it's like a special edition or not. I know the Diablo and Smash ones were a little more expensive, but they also both came with the game, so no, it's not you. It's the network. Thanks for following. And yeah, no, it's not just you. It's like the network from here in Australia. It's like super slow. So I'm like, this is probably going to be a short stream just because I don't want to punish anyone for watching me with like super bad frame rates. Because I've never seen them this bad. Like, even when I first started out and I was doing it on the thing, it just wasn't this horrific. So I'm like, I don't know if restarting my computer would fix it or if it's the network, but it seems to be the network. So I'm sure that after stream I'm gonna like go and look it up and be like, hey, why was this so bad? So that's kind of where I'm like sitting with the frame rates. So I appreciate you like coming in and like chatting with me and the follow. Well, yeah, like I always want to put it up. I mean, that's part of why it's a tag itself, so you can find other people who like support it or who are it. It like a community. I'm still amazed the fact that they turned down the trans tag. Like, I understand that the T is part of LGBT, but you have to like search through sometimes and find people, and so I'm sure it would be advantageous for them to have it like as its own separate thing. But, you know, until then, they've got the rest of us to support them, whether they want to be talking about, you know, whatever it is they want to talk about or not. And I'm just here decorating and chilling. Animal Crossing is a very calming game. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's like, I've been playing Animal Crossing on and off since like 2007-ish. Because my first Animal Crossing wasn't the GameCube one. My first one was Wild World. Now, I like Animal Crossing New Horizons in a lot of ways, like in the decorating and the terraforming. I absolutely love it. But I do miss some of the personality that came from the villagers out of the older games. So I've been playing since those days where, like, they'd insult you to the point where you'd, like, cry. Yeah, like, there's a whole, like, petition and everything for it, and people are trying to push for it, and it's been really active. Like, the tag has thousands of people putting it, not as many as some other tag petitions, but a lot, and Twitch has, like, been like, no, we're still thinking about it, we want to see if people actually want it in the community, and don't you already have the LGBT one? Why do you need, like, a separate one just for this, like, small group? And I'm like, well, it's so that way they can find other trans people here on Twitch. Because even though they're part of LGBT, there might just be people who are, like, non-binary. I know non-binary kind of is, like, part of trans, but, like, the person might just be, like, gay or lesbian or bi or queer of some other kind when they're looking for someone who's specifically, like, trans. Now, I'm no authority on it as someone who has not lived through the experience myself, but it is really sad that, like, they haven't been given that tag when I think that it's something they, like, deserve. So, in the meantime, they just, get the support from the rest of us. Now, where was I planning on putting those lamps? I was planning on putting these lamps somewhere. Oh, searching through all the rooms to figure out which room I was putting them in. It is. But yeah, I've been playing this game for years, and it's always... A lot of people say it can be boring because it's too calming, or because it's like, you're decorating and fishing and, like, cold. The weather's cold. Like, freezing cold. Like, we don't have wind just yet. It's getting there. Like, in the next month or so, the wind will really start to pick up, and where I am in Australia, the wind is what brings down the temperatures the most. So, it's really starting to get cold to the point, like, where there's debates about whether or not it'll snow soon, or, like, if there's going to be a good snow season down south, and they've started to advertise, hey, why don't you come down to the slopes for the snow season, because it's winter. But, one, that's a lot of traveling, and so yeah, the weather's pretty insane. That's alright. Hey, it's all good. I'm just, like, chatting away. So, I appreciate that you, like, asking questions and talking to me anyways. Whether or not you hear the full sentence or not. Yeah, I briefly remember with, like, Thailand, I watched a season of that, like, World's Strictest Parents. And in Thailand, they had, like, or it might have been Thailand. I think it was Thailand. They had, like, a monsoon season, and everything was, like, pouring rain and drenched, but it was still, like, melting hot. So they were all, like, in, like, as little clothes as they could possibly get to, but still, like, trying to keep the rain out of their house. I don't know if it was Thailand. I think it was, like, in one of the, like, interim seasons where they decided they were going to do, like, all of a section of Asia, I think. So they hit up, like, Japan and Thailand, and I think they tried to do China, but I think they ended up with, like, some of the, like, nearby areas. Because I'm sure that they weren't thrilled about the idea of having, like, an American news crew just, like, doing whatever they wanted with angsty teens in their country. It doesn't strike me as something that they would be particularly thrilled about. Yeah, that's why I said, like, I wasn't sure if it was Thailand. I've never been to any of these places. Like, I've only ever been to, like, Japan and Korea, but wherever they were, it was like warm, hot, muggy, in that kind of like tropical area, and they had monsoons. I lived in Guam at one point for a couple years, and we had typhoons that would come through because we were in Typhoon Alley, and if it went directly over us, it was going towards Japan. If it only hit the side of us, it was going off towards like Taiwan or something. So it was an interesting time, but we used to get like crazy amounts of rain whenever the typhoons would go through. But my knowledge is fairly limited on when it comes to like weather and geography, and so if you say you don't have monsoons, I'm gonna believe you and say that it was probably somewhere else that I'm thinking of. Somewhere else that was tropical and warm this time of year. Two beans. Oh, cool. Yeah, I've been like kind of all over. Because I've been in the US, I've been to Guam, a couple places in the US. I've been to South Korea, kinda. And I live here in Australia. So I've kind of been all over the place. I've also seen a tiny bit of Canada, but not enough that I really count it. So I'm just kind of like amazed with the amount of places I succeeded at getting to when I was younger, and that I have almost no memories of any of them. It's just kind of like this blur. Like, I went there, and there's pictures from there, but apart from some like random stories, my memory of the events is basically nothing. So, as you can see, this beach is pretty non-decorated. It's got a lot of flowers. It's kind of my flower dumping ground at the moment. Hey, Bob. So I've been hiding my sticks back here because the thing is, every single day, the trees will drop, like a certain amount of sticks would get dropped. However, if you pick those sticks up the first day and you individually drop them in an area on your island, they will stop reappearing at the beginning of each day. Like, they will just genuinely, like, stop. I don't know why. I don't know if it's, like, something that they didn't realize. Whatever it is, I'm glad that it's a reality. Because it really saves me having to pick up those sticks every day. Because I'd forget about them and I'd be like, oh look, there's a stick, missed it. And whenever I'd do my dream address and I'd make my dream address, I'd have to go around and check to see that I'd picked up all the sticks. So now that I have that like stick hideaway, I can like not worry about random sticks. The thing is, if you place down those sticks anywhere else on your island as like decoration, they still kind of count the same way. So you can use them as like, I know someone who was making a forest and they're making like a garbage dumpy forest, like kind of abandoned, nothing was there, no one was there. And so they use sticks in huge sections of the forest to like simulate that no one had been there because there's branches everywhere. So this kind of thing is exactly like that. In that, like, with the absence, with like all the sticks, if you put them all around the place, it make it look more natural. However, the like weirdo in me would want to go around, pick them all up, and be like, no, all this stuff is going away now. I want to sort it and clean it. And I just kept like repeatedly picking up all of the sticks and selling them or crafting with them just to get rid of them, clean them out of my space. Because I really didn't want them anywhere near my space. Because they made my island look too messy. If any of you are like sitting at home working and stuff, why don't you try? I always like find at work, after like a couple hours, I gotta like stand up and stretch it out. Cause like your muscles start to lock and you're sitting in one place for too long. And it gives you an excuse to like stand up and do like a little walk around. So I spend part of the day standing at my desk and like stretching it out. Because even though I can handle sitting at my desk in this chair for most of the day, I would still like get up and go walk around my house at different intervals to like get food or to chill or to like pace. And so at work, I have to like make sure that I can do a certain amount of standing up. Because I want to make sure that like I don't. There's like a thing I think where if you're sitting for too long and then you start to move, it can cause like muscle strain or something. And I didn't really want to have that or be dealing with it. So hence the like stretching and wanting to get around the place and all that. I don't know if that's crazy advice or not, but it's the advice that I always get when it comes to like work. He is probably never gonna wear these, but I am going to buy them anyways because he needs to get like bells, because there's all the like specific bell rewards for spending a certain number of bells and like collecting things and like having a certain number of things. I think there used to be one for a number of things in your catalog. There isn't really anymore, which kind of makes me sad, but I can understand why they'd like remove it, I guess. Not entirely understand, but like understand enough that like a lot of people would spend a lot of their time just going and trying to get the full catalog. Just for the trophies. And even then, in New Leaf, all you had to do is get like 80% of the catalog. You didn't have to have the full catalog cataloged in order to get the like achievement. But yeah, this is definitely going to be like a shorter stream of mine. Almost entirely because of the dropped frames. Something that I'm gonna like go and research and figure out. So I'm thinking that when I like hit an hour, I'm probably gonna head off. So in like 11-ish minutes. Because even though I'm still gonna like do dailies and I'm not done doing dailies, I'm both very tired and the frame dropping is like ticking me off on some greater level. In that like I don't think it's my computer, but if it is my computer, then I'm ticked about it. But if it's beyond my control, I can be both mad about it and be like, cool. Live Australia is super reliable when it comes to this kind of thing. But yeah, the most recent game I got was this Lego City Undercover. And the most surprising thing about getting this game at all was the fact that it still had like the artwork book thing with it. And it came with the cover. Because most of the time when I get like secondhand games, like pre-owned like this one, they don't come with the cover, they don't come with the box art. But for whatever reason, recently when I've been picking up all these PlayStation games, they've all had like the box art and the like artwork inside. And I've been like, cool. I'm surprised. Why do you have everything? Like, I'm shocked. I'm not complaining, but I'm shocked. So I think it's in part because a lot of people like traded in their PlayStation 4 games for like PS5 or PlayStation 5 games. The ones who were lucky enough to get a PlayStation 5, that is, because not everyone was lucky enough to get a PlayStation 5. Which is unfortunate. It's an unfortunate reality. But yeah. Well, that fell over. So yeah, like this week, I'm testing out streaming every single day of the week to see which days I like streaming the most. I don't like streaming on Mondays at the moment. I might stream on Mondays post September, or like past like middle of September, so like a couple months from now, because it's July. So like 2 months from now, once my hockey season's over, I might like start streaming on a Monday, so that way I'm like doing something on a Monday still, even though it's because like hockey will be over. Once hockey's over, I will stream either on a Monday or Sunday, but probably not both. I'll definitely stream on the only, like, Sunday and Saturday are going to be interchangeable, but Friday is always going to happen. Unless something comes up, and then I'll, like, move it to Thursday. But I'm always going to be streaming, like, a couple days a week. So I'm using this week to sample which days I like. Yeah. So, terrible frame rates aside today. Today has been a very long and tiring day. And I'm glad that I, like, got up, did some streaming. I'm here, but I'm also like, I wish the frame rates were better. Hey, Buzz. How you doing, buddy? Apart from my 2 food socks that I got, I also got these like dog socks, which were pretty exciting. One of them is just like covered in random dogs, like Dachshund, and I think that's a collie. There's like 6 or 7 different types of dogs, and then there's one pair of socks that's like just corgis. Thanks. Yeah, like I got like 4.5 hours sleep last night, and like I can feel it. I can feel it on me. I thought that I was gonna be fine, cause I've always been a like night owl, and like getting my way through the day. I'm getting older. I have to accept it that I need like 8 hours sleep, or at least 7 hours. Like I can get away with 7 hours, but I definitely need the 8 hours. So that's just kind of like where I'm sitting with it. At the moment though, I've been like reading my way through this book called Broken Homes. It's like in a series. So it's the 4th book in this series, and I was originally reading it like last year in March, and I had gotten through the first couple, then I got spoiled for some of the, like, a major plot point from like books after this one that I'm on, and I was really annoyed with like where it went with the plot. I was annoyed with being spoiled, and so as a result I just like stopped reading them. But now I'm like almost halfway through the book, and so I'm like, woo. Yeah, yours is 8 too? Yeah. So, I'm nearly all the way through this book. And once I'm done, I will get to read the next book. After the series I'm thinking I'm going to read is this one that's called, it's like the Last Blade series. I have all the books, so it's not like I have to go hunting for the books. One of the worst things ever is if I own like half of the books and then I have to like go and buy the other half of the books. So that way I can finish reading the series, or like somehow find a copy of the books at some like library. And incidentally, it's usually easier and faster to like just buy the book. All of that aside, this will be the series that I will read after, well, probably, I will probably read this series after the Rivers of London series. I've been debating doing like a book review of the book, but I'm also like, I watched a ton of book reviews and they seem to go in a lot in on like all this literary stuff that I have no idea about. I debated doing like a literature class to try and pick up on some of it, and I was like, that's a lot of effort just to do book reviews. Why not just enjoy reading? Why make reading a job? Whereas I was already planning on like playing some Animal Crossing and relaxing. It's a little different because I'm not reading a book specifically because I want to review it. Because some of those reviewers seem to end up having to read some like terrible books. I was watching one and she like read this terrible book. Her title was like, "Have I found the worst book ever?" And this book, I'd seen it on other people's reviews, and it is across the board. Everyone has hated it. They thought it was awful. The like writing wasn't very good. There was some like sketchy stuff behind the scenes with the author apparently, and so they all read it. And I'm like, if you start reviewing books, sometimes you're gonna end up being recommended and have to read the truly awful ones because you've run out of good ones to read, and you don't want to just like reread them to re-review them, because what's the real point in that, I guess? And they just like, they knock out these books. They do like a couple of books a week. I like get through maybe like 2 to 3 a week max, but it really depends on the book, how well it's written, like the way it's written, because the Rivers London series is actually very easy to like read your way through and get through as like a book series, but there's some book series that are not easy to get through. The way they're written is like convoluted and a little superfluous, and you're just like, can you get to the point? Like, why are all these words here? These words mean nothing to me. You just use big words and your thesaurus. Like, this book just shows to me that you know how to use your thesaurus. That's what I think when I see these, like, bigger words sometimes in books, and I'm like, you only use this word because you thought it was cool. Like, you would never have had this character, like, naturally, like, read, like, say these things. So, like, they'd have these super cool characters, and all of a sudden they'd just be like, I'm gonna say this big word that you have to look up. And you'd be like, you're, like, 16. Why are you saying this ridiculously long word? Makes no sense. Okay, I missed the first half of that, but he's holding his phone in his hand, then he reaches his pocket and pulls out another phone. Guess that was the phone he was looking for. Anyways, we're not on speaking terms anymore. Okay, Buzz. Buzz apparently had a far more interesting life than I thought. He kind of reminds me of this character called Giovanni that's in Spiritfarer, a game that I really want to finish playing, but just haven't gotten around to it. Who's like grumpy and crusty, and you kind of gotta like warm up to him. And although a couple of stories and like some dialogue he said was so like heartfelt and it like got to me, I hated his character for ages because I hated some of the stuff he said, some of the stuff he did, but he was like an interesting character. So I had to find a way to like figure out if I was okay with what he was doing enough to lie to another character in the game, or like tell them the truth. Fun story though, you can actually save the game. If you save the game before the point and then close out of it once you've done it, there's trophies that go off for the PlayStation version, and you could have the trophy itself will ding, and then you can just like delete that save file, go back to the last save point, and keep playing and get the better option. I know you could also do that kind of with like Ghost of Tsushima. A bunch of people were like playing it and then they like paused it at a certain point so they could go back and play from there. So yeah, like that was just something that like you could do, so you could rewatch the ending and you could see both versions of the ending before you made up your mind about which way you wanted to go with the story. The decision made very little difference, but I did have a preference of them. Yeah. It's been over an hour now, and I'm tired, and I don't know if anyone noticed, but I actually like slurred my words just then. So I know I'm tired, and I really want to investigate into why the frame rates right now are so astronomically dreadful. So I'm gonna end stream. I'm not rating anyone, but I thank you all for being here. Everyone who showed up, everyone who stuck around for my terrible frame rates, everyone who said hi. I appreciate all of you, and thank you again, Alpa Mew for your follow. It was nice to like chat with you. So maybe you'll stop by again and we'll have another chat. See ya.